So Scott Bedell joining the podcast in person this time. This is round two. Welcome back.
Yeah, thanks for having me back, Donnie.
So you are a certified business coach helping others turn their passions and purpose into profits with a focus on time, team, and money. Some things we've talked about a lot recently in our conversations.
Yeah, it's exciting. We have our firm, we have a team of 7 coaches, and we've grown throughout the Tampa Bay area and helped businesses grow and scale their companies. And I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Yeah, so why don't we start? If you haven't listened to Scott's first episode, go back and listen to that. That was back in November of 21 we were just looking at. But you're with Action Coach Tampa Bay. So start off again, just kind of recapping like what you guys do there and helping other businesses kind of grow and scale their business.
Excellent. Yeah, so I'm one of the partners at Action Coach Tampa Bay, and our discipline really is, I love how Michael Gerber, a couple books that I think were really critical to my success on the first and second company I launched, is a book by Michael Gerber called The E-Myth, and where he basically talks about how most all business owners, 99.9% of all business owners, start a business either because they have a technical expertise or they are entrepreneurial minded and they see a gap in the marketplace where they feel they could offer a valuable service. And that's usually how most everyone enters into starting a business. Then they get into this tricky situation where they start growing revenue, they start growing, in some cases, a team, and they find themselves in a situation where they're somewhat frustrated with how to get to the next level because they've built it off of their own back and off of their own work ethic or certain values. However, what Michael Gerber exposes in the E-Myth is that you need to actually develop your systems versus developing people. And the more you develop your systems, you can have people that run the systems and you focus on building those. And that's what fundamentally Action Coach does. Action Coach is a global organization over 88 countries worldwide. It's helped over hundreds of thousands of business owners build a business that can work without them. And we own the Tampa Bay franchise. So 7 counties throughout Hillsborough and Pinellas, where we help. Actually, even, walking in here today, I go, wait a second, we've worked with Berkshire Home Service. In fact, we've worked with the owners at our firm for well over 5 years. And I believe they're producing over $1 billion in annual revenue now. And so every business starts with humble beginnings. Every business starts with an idea and family. And the difference between growing that to something that works without the owner is what we kind of want to talk about today, which is leverage, how to get more done in less time and to grow something that you can exit at some point. And it's something that I wish someone would have talked to the 24-year-old me. Context, I'm switching the numbers around. I'm 42 now instead of 24, 4 kids later, and 20 years in business. And I love the fact that I get to educate business owners that the true definition of a business is a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without the owner.
Keyword without the owner. Or key phrase without the owner. So I want to go back to like something you mentioned, like the 2 reasons that people get into business is one, because they have a skill set around that business, or they just have that mindset of being an entrepreneur. Is there one that is more successful than the other, or one that has an easier path to growth? Let's start there. Like, does one have an easier path to growth there?
That's a great question. I'd love for those listening or anyone who chimes in later, they could probably challenge me on this because I don't have all this stats and data on that. However, if we just think through it, both of them have qualities, merits, and blind spots. Technicians, business owners that we work with that are technical savvy, so they tend to be great operators and tend to get frustrated with others not being able to do it as well as them. And we can talk on that in a minute and how that relates to time.
Yeah.
And then on the entrepreneur side, they let go easily. Almost their risk tolerance is much higher. Their willingness to make mistakes, fail fast, and move forward is a key attribute. And we talk about the success cycle of business. I brought this for you for success cycle of business, 6 keys to a winning team. One of them is to support risk taking. So entrepreneurs have a natural knack for risk taking. However, where they tend to fail is in the systemization of creating consistency. Because the number one reason why people will continue to buy a brand or buy into a brand, build loyalty, is not price. In fact, price is number 5. It's not even the number of services you offer or the quality of the services. It's in the top 5, but it's not number 1. The number one reason people will continuously come back is due to confidence in your product or service based on your consistency. And if you think about that, and you want to challenge me on that, look at McDonald's. Can you and I make a better burger than McDonald's?
Oh, most likely.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Yeah.
But the thing is that whether you go to Palm Harbor or China or anywhere in the world, you walk into a McDonald's and you're going to see the same colors. You're going to see the same, well, now they have a bunch of different products, but the idea is that it's the same structure. Now they've systemized it to a scale to where each franchise location, again, you challenge me on the specs of this. I might be pulling old data, but the average franchise used to value at around $1 million per franchise. Guess how old the average manager running a $1 million franchise McDonald's Corporation, how old they are?
I imagine they're younger, right?
Yeah, I mean, the way I'm positioning it, you go, well, there's got to be a shock to it. They can't be like in their 40s, but just give me a number. What do you think?
35?
20.
20
years old
is the average franchise owner.
The manager.
Oh, the manager
running
of that.
a $1 million franchise.
Okay,
And the idea is the reason they can hire a 20-year-old to run $1 million franchise because they've systemized so well that they've taken all the complicated stuff out of it. Now, what a lot of other reading will teach you, because we're talking about small business owners, and your network is a lot of small business owner community, and you always say small business owner under 24 million in annual revenue, and maybe tracking above that. However, the reality is you want to systemize the process, and humanize everything else. Most small businesses are not made to be a McDonald's. If you need someone's mental acuity, like real estate, you can systemize so much.
Right.
However, in real estate, you need to have, there's a emotional quotient to your service and what you do.
Yeah.
So you over systemize, you lose that connection.
Right.
And so when you look to systemize your business, depending upon what you're offering in your value proposition or your service or product, you have to be careful not to over systemize it
to where you lose that relationship, that human element, emotional connection there. And that makes me think about like Zillow offers, right? Like it's kind of that scenario where they tried to create this system and it worked for a while, they were in business for a while, right? They make a lot of money, but they lost that. There was no human element there, that human connection, which people need. And I think every business, right, like needs some component of that. Yeah. So if you were to start a business today, are you starting a business based around like one of your skill sets, or based on just the knowledge that you have and like, I know this business can be successful?
That's a very good question, because there's a lot of opportunity going on right now. And any business owner that's hearing this right now, that's only seeing the negative, get yourself a business coach. Surround yourself with a community of people that are looking at the opportunity. Because right now, whether we're in a up economy or a down economy, there's the people that the really opportunistic entrepreneurs are always seeing the opportunity. And so to answer your question, I've got a buddy right now that's looking to buy a business, and I've started just help him on the side, consult with him. And because we don't typically work with startups,
Okay.
usually we work with established businesses, 3 to 5 years in process, tracking towards $1 million in revenue. They've got their system together. They've got a good, healthy reputation, good reviews, and they've hit a ceiling where they don't know what to do next. And we start working with them. That's one-to-one coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's interesting, at the beginning of the year, we started a membership kind of program, lower program for businesses in that six figures, and that help them build the fundamentals. I think we're going to talk about time in a minute.
Yeah.
However, just to answer your question about what would I start? Well, with my friend, he's got some skills, and there's so many different ways to consult on this. So I would love for people, if they have questions, to reach out to an advisor or a coach, because I gave him very specific instructions depending upon how he wanted to finance it, because they had cash. And I'm like, don't throw cash. They were going to throw cash directly into buying the business. And versus there's SBA. If you have a skill that you've got developed over 3 years, in a lot of cases, you can qualify for programs where you can get low interest loans to start a business. There's also, depending upon if you have any diversity in your background, I know several women-owned, minority-owned businesses are coming out of the military, veteran. There's a lot of grants and programs available. And I've got contacts in my network that can help people get those types of funding. So depending upon that, you might want to lean towards your specificity. However, I will tell you this, what makes a successful business owner isn't being the technical expert.
Yeah.
There's going to be a need for that in your business. And a lot of times that's finding the right partner that has that technical expertise. That's where I see the biggest, most compelling opportunity right now in our market, is buying an existing business with a managing partner or a technician in place, because there's so many people that are in the next 10 to 15 years that are essentially have no exit plan, don't really have a sellable business. 86% of all businesses are not sellable.
Because it can't be run like that. Like you were talking about the definition of a business, it can't be run without the business, without the owner in place, right?
Correct. So no investor wants to buy your job.
Yeah.
They want to buy your business.
Right.
And if you're working in the business and the business is surrounded by you, they don't want it. In fact, a really funny analogy, a funny acronym of job is just over broke. And it's kind of, that someone might want to slap me.
Yeah.
However, I know what it's like to be a business owner and work over 100 hours a week in your business. And so we trade up working 9 to 5, making a pretty good wage, to working 24/7 and being run by a dictator, lunatic, tyrannical government, i.e. yourself.
Yeah.
You're a slave to your own business. And I'm not trying to paint a picture like everyone's dealing with that. There's a lot of people that are highly successful. It's just the reality is that we put a lot of pressure on ourselves.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. No matter which way you look at it, even the most successful businesses, like it was challenging for them, or it is challenging for them. And it's just, overcoming some of those obstacles and stuff. And so one of those obstacles that we've talked about is time and time management, and having conversations with a lot of business owners in our community. I think that's one thing that a lot of them have a struggle with, have a hard time with. And I think it translates into just personal life too, right? Managing time is hard, especially when you have a growing family and, all these things, and you have to be so many places, and, managing your time is hard. So let's touch on that. And like, what are some things that you've learned, throughout your, experience coaching businesses and running your businesses yourself around time?
Absolutely. So I just want to set the stage for anyone listening that it doesn't matter whether you're a solopreneur whether you have, you're generating multiple six figures, maybe you hit the 7 million mark or 7-figure mark or 8-figure mark. I've got clients in all categories, and we've got clients that have exited and made more on the exit and sale and reinvestment of their business than they ever made 30 years working in it. Shout out to Orange Blossom Catering and many others. That was the first one that came to mind. That was his quote, was like, man, I didn't realize that really the benefit of owning a business is to sell it. And I made more on the reinvestment of that sale than I ever made in 30 years working in it.
Crazy.
That gives me goosebumps.
Yeah.
And when we start thinking in those terms, it should absolutely shift our perspective on what our duty as business owners is. It's not just being an operator. It's not just about building revenue. It's about fundamentally making sure that we've got daily progress towards profit and towards exit. And so when we look at time, number one, time, there's no way to manage time. This is a rip from Stephen Covey and others, but there is no such thing as managing time. It's a non-renewable resource.
Yeah.
You know, money you can money you can put in a bank. You can save it. There's different ways you can earn a small percentage, money market, the stock market, crypto's coming back, you know, all those things, high risk, low risk, whatever, but you can hold it and you can observe when you want to take it out and put it in. But time is just, it's here and gone.
Yeah.
And so when we think about time, we think about how are you using the minutes of every day? And, you know, I run into so many business owners that go, well, I just can't get it done all in one day, or I've got this much stuff, and the reality is that you keep hitting these ceilings of, in growth, every new dollar in revenue is day zero of what you've experienced.
Yeah.
You know, you're hitting new territory every day. And so you have to start pushing yourself to learn more. One interesting thing, just as a side note, when it comes to goal setting, because we're in the second half of 2023 now, and we're looking at how are we doing on track with our goals. You know, this process that gets missed quite often is dream, state, goal, then learn. A lot of times people dream, goal, plan. And when you set a plan for dreams and goals without learning anything new, you end up setting a plan that you from the past, and you're going to end up with a very similar result. And so you want to start focusing on areas where you need to grow the most and focus on learning around areas you need to grow.
I like that.
Where a lot of people end up reinvesting in stuff they've already read before because it's familiar and it's sort of, I don't know. It's just, why is it that we do that?
It just feels good, right? It's like the ego, right? Yeah.
To answer your question though, so on time, I thought it might be helpful to run through 10 steps to make each day exceptionally productive. And maybe we go through these and kind of chat about them, and kind of you can tell on your experiences.
I like that.
So first things first is there needs to be, you got to have control of the bookends. No business owner.
Morning and evening.
Yeah, that's right. You can't control everything that happens to you in a day. However, everyone gets 24 hours in a day. The most successful people, picture someone in your head that you find to be the person you want to be like, that's where you want to be and everything you desire in your life. That person has 24 hours in the day too.
Right.
And so do you. And so to make every day exceptionally productive, first is have a starting point to your week to map out your week. For some people, that's Sunday, because Monday is when it gets crazy.
Yeah.
That's why everyone says, oh, I got the case of the
Monday blues or whatever. Yeah.
you know, because you're letting the week manage you versus you managing the week.
Reactive versus proactive. Yeah.
And technology has come at such a fast pace. It's outpaced our ability to catch up with how we manage ourselves. And like you said, you add a few kids in there. We added 4.
Yeah.
You had kids in there. You have life changes. You have geography changes, friendships, relationships, all these things stack on, and you haven't been able to stop and reprioritize and reset a schedule. So you got to figure out what's the beginning bookend of your week look like. For some people, that's Sunday night.
Yeah.
It's quiet. Nothing, no one's calling you. And if they are, you should ignore it.
Yeah.
And give yourself thoughtful time to process and plan out your week. And you know, there's a concept called MI5s. So you can just write down MI5, which is focusing on the most 5 critically important things that you want to work on
for that week.
Yeah, for that week, that day.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah,
just
break it down, right?
Yeah, break it down.
Yeah.
And that should be what you prioritize before anyone prioritizes your time.
Yeah. So that was number 1.
Yeah, that was number 1. Yeah,
okay.
Book in. And then 2 is actively block out for your task time. So being able to block out time for the activities are profit time.
Yeah.
So if you have a certain sales goal that you have to hit, well, what is the lead measure? What are the activities that lead to sales? Well, you have to make sure if you want X number of sales, and this is this is how many appointments or this is how many engagements you have to do to get to this many appointments, to get to this many sales. That's where we talk about the 5 ways, leads and conversion. And once you know the numbers, every business owner must know their numbers. Business is a numbers game.
Yeah.
Marketing is a numbers game.
Yep.
Once you know the numbers and master the numbers, it becomes easy and it becomes fun. So you have to block the time appropriate to the activities it takes. And that's why most people don't get to their goals, because either they haven't thoughtfully thought through the time it takes, or they don't have a good grasp on their numbers. And once you solve both of those failures, now you've just set yourself up for success.
And so number 1 seems like, I mean, we haven't gone through the entire list yet, but I'd imagine that's probably going to be the most important thing, right? If you skip number 1, if you don't plan your time out or, jot down your 5 most important things for that week or for that day or whatever it is, you're going to be reacting to the week and then you're not going to be doing those important tasks and that sort of stuff. So, all right. So what do you got for number 3?
Yeah. And on that, let me just double down on that. Is anyone, and we'll challenge people listening to this. Has anyone ever emailed you to check your P&L and your finances? Has anyone ever just randomly called you and said, "Hey, I need you to sell my home right now and come pick up this check"?
Right.
No. And so so we know the things we have to prioritize. So in that messaging, I just want to be clear that when you can work your schedule and your team around, email is one of the lowest value things you can start your day in.
Interesting. Yeah.
I saw your face, because that's the face everyone's like, oh man, because it's such
my email.
It's such an easy thing to start the morning with.
Yeah.
And even when we know these habits, and we know what it means to eat healthy, doesn't mean we always eat healthy.
Right.
It's we're listening to the most successful habits. So letting email wait till after 10.
Yeah. I've heard this before too, of like, whatever the time is, right? Whether it's 10, 11, but just setting a time block where you check your email and you don't check it. But it's just like social media, it's all on our phones now. So it's so easy to check it, right?
That's it. And so take it off your phone.
Yeah. Right.
I actually, I set my phone to, I love the Apple phone for having that focus.
Yeah.
You can actually set in focus settings now.
Where it's like a time every day or something.
Yeah. And put it to do not disturb, because they've gotten really good about figuring out, even when you put it on disturb, it can vibrate, or even if you have it on vibrate, it can flash.
Yeah.
So I always have my phone down, do not disturb, on silent with the focus, everything.
Yeah. So speaking of that, like we're recording on an iPhone right now, and I have to have it set in airplane mode and like the focus mode, like do not disturb, right? Because of that, because you still get notified for certain things. So yeah.
So now let's say that they're listening to these greats that are saying this stuff. Like Brian Tracy's another one, Eat the Frog.
Yeah.
So I don't care if you might say, well, 2 a.m. is when my high energy is. Energy management is also important.
Yeah.
I'll just tell you the most successful time for brain activity is the morning. So 8 to 9:30 high focus time. The high priority tasks. That's why we want to push email to after 10.
Yeah.
And you go, well, Scott, I get up at 4 a.m. and I tackle it. I get it. Quiet time in the morning. That's all good. But I still think, setting aside a lot of intentional effort to start other people's activity later in the day and get clear on what you need to do and be able to focus in is extremely important. So you said go to the next
3,
one, right?
Yeah.
3, follow a realistic to-do list.
Okay.
A realistic to-do list. And here, let me add this, is that half and half. Some people don't create a to-do list on paper. We just create it in our heads.
Yeah.
So it's great to document it, write things down. For those that need to do that, just document taking a 5-minute time to just brain dump. If you start to feel overwhelmed, if you start to feel anxious, just taking 10 minutes, 5 minutes, you would be amazed at what you can accomplish. Just brain dump. And having someone outside your world, outside the emotion, to be able to help you brain dump that and reorganize that is extremely helpful tool for just organizing your thoughts and reprioritizing your tasks. Now, for the other half that are really good at creating to-do lists, that creates anxiety because they have these to-do lists. They just
have to get done.
And they can never get them all.
Yeah.
Or they'll force them to get them all and they're killing themselves.
Yeah.
And I have clients that are netting multiple 7 figures a year that still work themselves like they're going to be broke tomorrow.
Yeah. Right.
And what we have to do with those behaviors is help them slow down and recognize they need to slow down and celebrate the wins and the progress they're making and recognize their team. And what we do is an invert strategy, which is write down your don't list.
Like things you don't want to do or things you shouldn't be doing.
Right. Things you shouldn't be doing that if you just stop this one activity, it might buy you back hours in your week.
Okay. Yep.
And then once you learn that discipline of just one thing to stop doing, and it's buying you back 10 minutes a day, we get 10 minutes a day back in perpetuity.
Yeah, I love that. And the to-do list thing, I've done different strategies or whatever since I've been in business, and it's either, in my notebook, like I did that for a while where I was writing it down in my notebook, but then there'd be times I would think of something and then I'd be like, okay, I need to write that down. And before I get to my notebook, I forgot what it is that I need to write down. Right. So I now have it on my phone. I have different lists. I have category to-do lists, like the little app on your iPhone. I think it's reminders. And you can set different categories. So I have a business to-do list. I have a home to-do list. We have an investment property, so I have a to-do list for that. So I have it broken down that way. And that's worked for me because then I can, if I think of something, I usually have my phone near me and I can just type it in right there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. And then what that helps when you start documenting at that level, what you can start doing is pulling in this discipline of future present state. And future present state dictates that you can look to your past as historical evidence of what you need to do and improve that to get to your goal, versus future present state says, look 3-5 years in the future, really document what your world looks like. What kind of behavior do you need to be? What are the things that person is doing or needs to do to have the things you're looking to have? And then you draw those dreams and goals into your present by working through changing your behavior, changing the things you need to start operably doing on a day-to-day basis, making daily progress towards long-term worthwhile goals. And that by action is creating what we call an action plan.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a strategic plan. It's not a tactical plan. It's an action plan where rather than just creating these insurmounting to-do lists, you're looking way in the future, pulling that into a vision mission, breaking that down into the next clear 90 days that gets you towards that future vision, and then breaking those down into weekly, daily, and small bites.
Yeah. Actionable items that you can work on today.
And I'm going to, and so in fact, the 1-page plan, there's a lot of greats that talk about that.
Like a 1-page business plan?
Yeah. Well, it's not a business plan. It's an action plan.
Okay.
And so business plan would be for the purpose of, say, getting finance or capital.
Okay.
Or bringing in business partnerships or getting clear about your idea. But once you've done and executed all that, an action plan is really the steps and the things you need to do to get to that long-term vision.
Okay.
And so there's a few other things on here. Maybe a teaser is we'll give them the full 10 steps.
Yeah.
I'll give it to you and you can list it and give it to them in a PDF.
Yeah. We'll put like a link on there for them to get the 10 steps.
But I'll give a couple extra on here.
Okay.
This one's funny to me is I can't remember the author. Maybe you guys can tell us or remind us who the author is, but it's default to 30-minute meetings.
You know, I've who was it that said this? And it was like, why do we have 30-minute, or why do we have like the standard hour meeting?
Yes.
When you can accomplish, maybe it was like Rob Deerdeck. I don't know if you've listened to any of his. Yeah. So he's very big on time management and just planning his day. And he talks about that. It's like, if you can schedule your meeting in 15 minutes, then schedule a 15-minute meeting. It doesn't need to be an hour meeting. I like that.
Yeah. And then a couple others, I'm going to jump over a couple because there's a couple other ones that are really good is obsess over leveraging your edge time. And so what is edge time? This is all the stuff that's on the road or my most successful clients follow their calendar to an absolute T. And what I mean by their calendar is we create a default calendar, and default means we're setting the plan of how we're carrying out our day to the highest effectiveness. And this is an every 90-day process. However, this one client I've been working with this on for over 3 years, and I said, how are we doing on following our calendar? She's like, Scott, I follow my calendar 99.9% of the time.
Yeah.
And super diligent. And then every 90 days, we review that and look at ways we can shift that up, because over time, we should be increasing in our value, not staying the same, not decreasing. And so we're constantly re-looking at that. And as our life changes, it's much easier to maintain those shifts as our life changes.
So for the calendar, so every 90 days, so you're saying like have a set calendar of like those 5 items that are the most valuable to help you achieve your goals. So like those items are like built into your week every single week, and they don't really fluctuate. Is that kind of like the idea there?
Yeah. So it's your blocking time for the critical activities, that are driving profit, revenue, et cetera. I have certain days where I have coach days, and I've dialed that down to a couple days that are just high profit coach days. And then I've got other blocks throughout my week that are consistent so that my schedule becomes this routine, systematic approach. And I'm just this person working through it.
Yeah.
Now there's things that change inside that.
Yeah.
I don't have come on Palm Harbor local,
every single week. Yeah. Although maybe we could do like a segment every single week.
Certainly open to it. I love being here. You're such a great guy. However, the idea is that there's certain things, getting out and doing speaking events.
Yeah.
Being able to, in October, fourth quarter of 2022, I set out my give plan. 12% of my time is going to go to give backs.
Okay.
Going to pro bono sessions, because I know that these are lead measures or lead activities that bring a certain amount of clientele or awareness to what we're doing. It helps a lot of people. My vision that God gave me a long time ago was to help reduce the rate of business failure down to 0 in my local marketplace. So businesses that I know are great business leaders that want to run a successful business, want to grow a great culture. I want to help those business owners make sure they aren't part of the 86% statistic that fails, that they actually can build a business that can be a sellable asset. And part of that is making sure that I'm available to people that may not be ready for coaching, but still getting them to the next step they need to do. And I love that. And I'm obsessed about it. So
yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Maybe, do we have time for one more, or we need to start wrapping it up?
Yeah, let's do one more.
Okay. So, gosh, 9 and 10 are pretty big, but I'm going to go with this one. As a father and a husband, just celebrated our 12th wedding anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
You're in the field too, right?
Yeah, we're at 7.
7. Congrats.
Yeah. 7, 2 kids, and we're stopping at 2. So
hey,
we're not going to get you on at the 4.
That's good. Hey, we got to know your limits too. Yeah. You got to know, and two, hey, if you have a really challenging first kid, you might just be like, we always joke that if we would have the twins first, we would have been like,
oh, so you had twins? Okay.
Yeah, we had 2 individual boys first.
Okay,
and then we found out we were having twins in 2017, and it was like 2 to 4.
Yeah.
And we always joke, we're like, if we would have had the twins first, we probably would have just had 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was that a hard jump, or was that like, since you already had 2? Because this is always a thing. It's like, oh, you have 2 kids. Like, what's one more? Or you have 1 kid. Like, the other one's gonna help balance things out, right? Everyone's got their theories, but
it's one of my buddies said, has like 5. Well, we have some friends that have 6, and of course, there's people out there that have like crazy more than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's zone defense now.
Yeah.
So it's actually not as crazy as you'd think, because you're not playing man to man.
Yeah.
It's just a different strategy.
I like that.
And then after a while, they start helping each other.
Yeah.
So kind of focus and right or wrong. Hey, any counselors out there that, that's a whole different thing that we need. I probably need coaching on. However, we just do our best to raise them into matured kids. But this one, number 9, is protect your family time. So as a self-proclaimed, or not a former workaholic who used to wear it like a badge of honor, there is nothing honorable about working under your value and watering down your value to the marketplace. And so exercising your right, if you're not able to get home by 6 o'clock to be with your family, this might be a gut punch, and I'm putting my own hand on this. You're doing something wrong. And I don't mean disrespectfully stop what you're doing today. I'm saying, can we work on a plan to get you home by 6 p.m. so you can be with your family and shut down your phone and shut down your thoughts? And you gotta work through that. I actually learned, and me and some of my clients have talked through this, that also have families and younger families, or just had children, their 3rd child. It's committing that drive home to not jumping on the phone, not putting on music, being silent with yourself, being able to process. And that's the other bookmark, is being able to end your day. How to end my day, and having self-checks and decompressing so you can show up for your family high energy when you get home. And the times when my work day runs over and I don't give myself that time, I'm not really checked in when I get home and after dinner, and now the kids are in bed and I'm just aggravated. I want to get them to sleep so I can start having my time back.
Yeah.
What I hope to accomplish through this conversation is just that one, a little bit of grace, that we're just not going to follow these things to a T every time.
Yeah.
However, to go back and recognize, we don't want to look back 20 years later and go, man, I was fighting for 5 minutes at the end of the night when I could have just started working on a habit so I can stop the stuff that really won't matter 20 years from now. Is whatever that call was and whatever that customer complaint was. I'm not saying don't take care of your customers. I'm just saying create limits and prioritize what's super important. So interesting statistic my wife shared with me that fundamentally changed my perspective on this. It really made me kick my butt in a gear, even after reading it a million times.
Yeah.
She goes, you know, babe, there's real stats about incarceration rate and how many times a night you're at home with your family for dinner.
Oh, wow.
I go, really? And I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
So
I'll be home tonight.
So just prioritize family time.
Yeah.
Even in the small, even 5 minutes, maybe you go, Scott, like I hear what you're saying, but it's just not my world. Well, you know what? Start now. Maybe it's just 2 minutes right now.
Yeah.
And
start small.
Yeah. We can develop that.
Yeah.
The mustard seed.
That's such a great one to end on, because it's so true. It's such an important time for you and your family to connect, and exactly what you said. Like, I've experienced that too, where you are working until the minute that you get home, and you don't have that time to kind of sit back and reflect on the day or collect your thoughts, whatever it is, and then you rush right into family time, and you're not relaxed at that point, right? So then that feeds into your kids and family time, and then it's just a kind of more chaotic night than what it should be. So I love that, and I have it in my calendar every single night. It's like 6 to 8 p.m. is like family time. It's dinner, cook dinner, get the kids to bed, spend some time with them. It doesn't always work out like that, like you said. Like, it's not perfect, but it's so important. And like the days that you can do that and spend that time with your family, it's cool, it's fun, it's special. So I love it.
That's awesome. And I definitely want to be intentional to, sometimes people go, well, man, that sounds like personal life coaching, not business coaching. And the reality is that the personal stuff affects the work stuff. So
100%.
Our aim is to be business coaches. Are we sometimes in the pocket of the family life? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And marriages have been restored, relationships have been built on people being intentional about changing the habits that are not getting them to their goals. And so when we're willing to not just, because doing part's only about 20%, 80% is, we're human. We're not human doers. We're human beings. So we need to focus on the be state. And that's through learning. It's through connecting with other people that are going through the same stuff. It's learning tools and having resources to intentionally work on your behavior, your mindset. And it's a tough world. And when you're in tough economies, up, down, mindset can play tricks with you. And so you got to find a community, you got to find people, you got to find mentors and coaches and other people to surround you so we can eliminate those threats to help help that person be the best person that they were designed to be.
Yeah. I love that. So we will we'll put the remaining, or the whole PDF, we'll put that, we'll give you guys a link in the description so you can check out those 10 steps to make each day was exceptionally productive. I like that. Scott, it's been fun. It's good to finally meet you in person. I know we've had conversations over the phone, and our first podcast was via Zoom. So good to have you in person, and I appreciate you being here.
It was a pleasure being here. Thanks. And congratulations to you. 7 years, 2 kids, and successful podcaster, Palm Harbor local, real estate. You're a great example, and it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And so anybody that is interested in connecting with Scott, reach out to him. Again, we'll have all the links for reaching out to him in the description below. So check him out. And thanks for being here.
Thank you.